numbers of teams vying for that bid. And I think that Wichita State has set a bar, and I can just tell you by seeing the coaches on the road, seeing the level of recruiting going on, everybody is chasing that thing extremely hard. And they've set a bar of excellence, and we're all chasing that thing, and that's healthy. And I know the stats started off this conference call with how many returners are here and how many guys. I'm just telling you, we're going to have this conference call when the season's over. You're going to see a lot of kids, a lot of players that are new in this league that had huge impacts, because the recruiting that these coaching staffs in this league are doing is I feel like it was when I was here earlier when so many teams were vying for spots. The level of recruiting has really been amped up, and I think Wichita is a big part of that because we're all chasing them, and they've set that bar.
Thanks, Porter.
Your next question comes from Andrew Logue with the Des Moines Register.
Hi, Coach. Wanted to ask you, one of the buzz topics throughout the summer with the NCAA is the talk of autonomy and giving the bigger schools more of a say, more of an influence, and in a sense letting them kind of do their own thing. Do you see ramifications basketball-wise for schools in your position?
Well, I think, for our schools in Missouri Valley, we want to be great. We've been in those elite conferences, mixed. We've beaten teams in those leagues in the past in this league. And it is definitely going in that direction. The governance of who's going to make the decisions and some of the rules for the student athletes. And we want to continue to build our programs to keep up with them. And that's the bottom line. I want to be on that side of the line with those leagues, and in terms of what we can do for our student athletes, what we can do for our programs. And it's about raising the profile of our school and the schools in this league to reach for those things. The Missouri Valley is an elite conference, and it's been an elite conference, and we're at a point on that line with a lot of things going on with governance and with that we don't want to be on that other side. We want to reach for greatness. We want to reach for that level, and I think that's what I know the Valley's been feels that way. I know the administrators in the leagues and the coaches feel that way, and that's what we got to do. We got work to do. We got work to do on each of our campuses in a lot of areas: fundraising, recruiting, getting fan support, building your program to get to that point. But in my eyes, we've got to be on that side of the line, and that's what we're running for.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Paul Sulentrop with the Wichita Eagle.
Good. My question's been answered. Thank you.
At this time, there are no additional questions.
All right, thank you.
That wraps it up for you. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
All right, Mike.
Okay, we'll see you. Let's get next to Coach Gino Ford of Bradley.
You got me?
Yep, I hear you. How are you?
Okay, good. Sorry, I was in the gym.
No, that's all right. We have asked each coach, and I guess you're the second one, so we've only asked Porter to do it so far. But talk a little bit about what you got coming back, your recruits that have joined you for this coming season, and then we'll open it up for some questions for you.
Okay, well, in terms of coming back, we have three guys that started for us at the majority of the time. Xavier Taylor was center for us a year ago. Austin Barnes will be our only senior on the roster and played pretty well for us in conference play after January. And then Omari Greer. Kadero Bell saw substantial playing time and will be a junior for us. And then Nate Wells and Anthony Fields are our other two returners. And we're adding 7 new guys. We're excited about them. I think our size and athleticism will be much improved, which needed to happen. We're excited about the year and excited about the pieces we have. The challenge is, as we feel like we're going to be better, I think the league's going to be stronger top to bottom by a considerable amount. Due to the recruiting that all the schools have done and also a lot of returning guys that can play. So the league's going to be a lot tougher than it was, and it's always been good, and we're excited to be part of it, and we'll see where we shake out in the mix.
Thank you, Gino. Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions now for Coach Gino Ford. Questions from the media.
Again, that's star 1 on your telephone keypad to ask a question. Star, then the number 1. Your first question comes from Todd Hefferman with the Sutherland Illinoisan.
Doing something on the league lost the Mountain West Challenge 2 years ago, and they're kind of still looking for another one, and you signed a couple of 2-for-1s in the last year or two. Is that kind of the future of scheduling until the league gets something like that again?
Well, I think it's scheduling's, it's arguable, but I think scheduling's the most difficult part of our jobs. You run into so many factors with scheduling, and the hardest part of it is not being able to get teams from BCS leagues willing to play you in your building. It makes scheduling really difficult. The league, really, I thought we had two great things going. I think it's really misfortunate or unfortunate that the media kind of hammered on bracket busters, which was a great thing. We had two built-in games in our schedule every year with like opponents. If you were good, you played somebody good, and if you weren't, you played somebody that was average like you were. And it was two less games you had to schedule. And then the Mountain West Challenge with our league gave us a third game, and that's created some holes in the schedule. I know that the conference office has worked really hard to get something else put together. I think it's pretty well documented that Doug was way out ahead of the game when he started the Bracket Busters concept and was highly successful for a long time. And like anything, momentum gets going in another direction. And I think the scheduling of momentum right now, as it's flowing, it's going away from BCS teams being willing to play on the road. And that it makes it really hard. I mean, when you're Wichita, what they've done has just been nothing short of remarkable. But when you're in their situation, you can get that occasional high major to play you home at home, because when they beat Alabama, which they probably will again, when they beat them, Alabama's not, it doesn't seem bad, well, we lost to Wichita. But all the coaches in our league know that if they had to go to Northern Iowa, Alabama probably losing that one also. And so when they lose there, now that's when they feel like they have to explain. Or if they come to Bradley and lose, they have to explain, how did we lose to Bradley? So, it's tough. And I think we're all fighting scheduling issues of getting, name teams in your building, which puts you in a situation where you're only able to play those teams on the road or in an exempt tournament. And the exempt tournament's been a good avenue for our league. But the road's always a problem, because you're not going to get near the whistle and have the opportunity to win on the road. So I'm sure the league's trying to get another series like crazy. It would be great if we could. But the reason we don't have one in place is not because of the coaches or conference office willingness to do it. It's the lack of willingness out of other leagues that would be beneficial to us or mutually beneficial to us in another league.
Are you a fan of the 2-for-1 deals where you play one game in a neutral site? And has that something you've approached other BCS teams with, or you're strictly trying to get a home with teams?
No, we would. I mean, if there was one game on our campus, if it was a 2-for-1 where it was a neutral game that belonged to them, and then at our place, at their place, I mean, that's something we would definitely entertain with the right opponent. We've entertained 2-for-1s with strategic opponents where we would go to their place twice and then they would come here once. It's a little more difficult I think for about any of our schools, or at least the vast majority of us, to get a 2-for-1 where our home game is actually on a neutral court. Like for us, we would have to go to Chicago, which is good for our alumni base. But in terms of our season tickets and things like that, it's not as appealing. And then you also are running into issues, can you even get the facility to play? So that can be a little trickier, to pull off. I mean, if you had a second arena in town, maybe it's something Loyola could do a little bit easier than some of the rest of us. But we all want to play home games, and that's really the key. I mean, you're up to it's high 70s. I mean, 78%-ish around there that of games in the country that the home team won last year. When you're talking about a number that big, none of us want to give away a home game. And that includes the BCS schools. So there's a lot of challenges, and it's always best when games are mandated on the schedule as opposed to you have to go out and agree to them, because typically people aren't that agreeable.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Your next question comes from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Panther-Graph.
Hello, Gino.
Hi, Jim. How you doing?
Good. Could you talk a little bit about, obviously there's going to be a real high expectations for Josh Cunningham this year. As a coach, how do you kind of approach that with him, and what are the staff's expectations really for Josh this year?
Well, that's a great point I think you're making. I think it's hard for fans. I don't think it's that hard for coaching, and the key will be how Josh handles it, because unrealistic expectations by outsiders can be suffocating only if you allow them to be. And I think he's going to be a very, very good player at Bradley. Does that happen day one, or does he need a little experience? It's really interesting. When we recruited him, one of the things that we were going to try to sell to him and his mother were, hey, you've got a greater opportunity to make a big impact early at Bradley than maybe somewhere else, because we need your skill set and so on and so forth. And so we were going to try to push that. His mom's response to me was, well, when Josh was a freshman, he didn't play on the varsity, and he had a great experience playing with those guys, and he learned a lot. So immediate playing time is not going to be a factor in our decision of where he goes. So it was a curveball in the recruiting, because we thought, well, we got, this is our sell, and that actually is not how we attracted him to come to Bradley. Now, does he want to play? Absolutely. Do I think he can compete for a starting spot from day one? Absolutely. But he hasn't been hung up on all that stuff. He's a really, if you get to know him at all, he's a very, very humble, very nice kid, and I know we as coaches throw those around, but I'm not just saying that because it sounds good. It's really accurate. He's just a super person, and he's a great student and a great kid. So, I don't think he's going to get suffocated by any of that. And as far as stat expectations, I think those are hard to throw around for anybody. I actually think we're going to play 9 guys. I mean, I guess the example I'd give you, you look at Wichita. Ron Baker would have scored 20 a game for Bradley last year, but he was playing at Wichita, averaging about 12. He was awfully good. So I think the numbers can be deceiving. I think Josh can help us win, and I think he's going to be a good player. I have no guess on stats, but I think he can, before it's all said and done, certainly distinguish himself in this league.
And Gino, how important do you think it is for the overall image of the league for a couple challengers to really emerge this year against Wichita State?
Well, I think it's important because it has to happen at some point, and I'll say it this way: Wichita is not. It's not like one of those Department of Transportation trucks that beeps when it backs up. They're not backing up for any of us. They got the pedal to the metal. They've gotten better and better. I thought 3 years ago when they had Garrett Stutz and all these guys, I remember being on the bench, and as they were beating us, saying to myself, oh, it'd be good when that guy graduates, and it'd be good when this guy's gone, and man, I can't wait until Armstead's out of here. And then that guy leaves, and then all of a sudden somebody else, can't wait till Ragland leaves, and then you can't wait till Armstead leaves. They just go out and get more good players, and they coach them extremely well. So they're not going back up for any of us. We have to have some teams be able to go clip their heels a little bit and compete with them. And they're the standard in the league by a mile. I think there's a lot of really good programs in our league, and I actually think it's possible for a couple teams to push them this year, which didn't happen a year ago. But until somebody does it, that's all wasted, breath and conversation, because it needs to happen, or our league can't grow. And like I say, I mean, you can't just count on hoping Wichita is not going to be as good. Every one of us is doing our best to get better so that we have a chance to compete with them. And I think what will end up happening is then you're going to have a couple teams that can compete nationally, because clearly Wichita is a national program right now. They're not a Missouri Valley, level team. They're a national team. And that's, a credit to them, and that's what we're all trying to strive towards.
Thank you.
Yep.
Your next question comes from the line of Paul Solendrop with Wichita Eagle.
Gino, could you tell us a little bit about Mike Shaw and what kind of role you see him playing?
Well, Paul, I'm going to be honest. I'm really excited about Mike Shaw. Mike is big. Mike is athletic. I think Mike is going to be a really good big guy in the Missouri Valley. He's got some ability to step away from the basket, and it's going to be key for us that we keep him hunkered down in the lane, because when he's down around the basket, he's physically of a size and an explosiveness of guy that we haven't had in my time here. He was our best player in practice a year ago by a substantial margin, and we're expecting him to be a real key to our team. I mean, last year, if he would have been able to travel to road games, he would have been the captain of our team. He's the most vocal guy. He's the most uplifting guy in our program. So, I really have high expectations for Mike. He sat out a year and is really hungry to prove to people that he's a lot closer to that top 100 recruit he was when he went to Illinois than the guy that's kind of been forgotten. And he's got a little chip on his shoulder that I think is really healthy.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
There are no additional questions at this time.
Gino, thank you for your time this morning, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks again. See you.
All right, bye-bye. We do have Coach Greg Marshall of Wichita State on the line with us. Good morning, Greg.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well. Let's get right to the questions for you. We're a few minutes behind, so we'll just get right to the questions from the media for Coach Greg Marshall.
Again, that's star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad to ask a question. Our first question comes from Andrew Lowe with the Des Moines Register.
Hi, Coach. The buzzword all summer has been about autonomy. Do you see changes in the NCAA structure coming in the short term, or is this something you think will drag out, or how could this all play out for schools like Wichita State?
I have no idea. I do think there are going to be some changes, but I have no idea how widespread or far-reaching these changes will be. I think the Power 6 conferences want a bigger piece of the pie, and they want to, more importantly, I think they want to legislate their own rules that fit schools like themselves. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'm not involved in those discussions, but I do think there will be changes.
Do you kind of see their side of it a little bit, or would you kind of worry that it could impact the NCAA tournament because people want to see the Wichita States or the George Masons or whoever kind of make that run and get that shot to go far in the tournament?
Yeah, I don't think they'll do anything that will cause the NCAA tournament to go away. That would be quite unfortunate, but I think something quite just short of that may be possible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next question comes from Luke Meredith with the Associated Press.
Greg, there's already been a bunch of conversations on this teleconference this morning about what the teams in the league need to do to sort of catch up to what you guys are doing at Wichita. And I wonder what your perspective is on the flip side. How important is it for what you're doing with your program to have some of the other teams in the league get to the point where they're a lot closer to where you are?
I think teams, especially in leagues like ours, they're doing well or not so well. I think it's pretty cyclical. I think we're one of the few conferences in the country that in the past, Mike Kern can give you the exact date. I read it somewhere. I think we've had all 10 teams in the NCAA tournament and a handful of those in the Sweet 16 in the last 10 or 15 years. So I think, when I came in the league, we were certainly not on top. In fact, we were down near the bottom and looking up at teams like Southern Illinois and Creighton. So it's cyclical, and our challenge is just we can't worry about the other teams. We don't have anything to do with what they're doing. They don't ask our opinion and our advice. We have to just continue to work hard with our program and try as hard as we can to keep it on top. And getting to the top is one challenge. Maintaining your excellence like Gonzaga has done during Coach Few's tenure is quite impressive, and that's another thing. Hello?
I can hear you, Greg.
Okay, I didn't know if I lost you.
Now there's a couple more questions in the queue.
Your next question comes from the line of Todd Hefferman with the Southern Illinois.
I'm just doing something on scheduling, and since losing the Mountain West Conference Challenge 2 years ago, the league has kind of had to scramble a little bit with games. You've had a little bit better luck getting some of the BCS teams to play you. Have you had any better luck this year, getting them to play you at your place?
Yeah, our schedule will be the most difficult one since I've been here. We've got a great schedule with a ton of BCS teams, and so I realize that that with the recent success, it's been a positive and a negative from a scheduling standpoint. But those that view it as a positive have been more receptive to playing us, so that's an advantage for us. Not only did we lose the Mountain West Challenge, we lost Creighton, who was obviously a top 2 or 3 team in our league when they left, and then we lost the Bracket Buster. For us, that was a quality game in February every year. So, you lose all three of those games from your schedule within a 12-month period, and it hurts. So, but I think the league is making some steps to challenge folks to not only schedule well, but to do well. And there's going to be some incentives for scheduling well and winning enough games so that your RPI is good enough at the end of the season. I just asked Doug if it was going to be retroactive, and he assured me that it was not.
Have you tried to get more games at the other site in Wichita? Or do you rather, when you're approaching somebody like Kansas or Kansas State or somebody like that, are they more receptive to playing at the neutral site or some kind of series with that? Or
those guys aren't really receptive to playing anywhere. I mean, our offers to those people have been their place, somewhere like Kansas City, which is much closer to their place, and then our place. So it's basically a 1-1-1, but the neutral would be closer to them, and we would be willing to play in the downtown arena as opposed to our home facility, Coke Arena. So, but those games probably aren't going to happen. I don't know why, but they're not. That's their choice, and they have that choice. So we're not going to go on the road for checks. That's something that the league discourages. In fact, ask us not to do. So if we can find people that want to play home and home or a neutral site, like we found a very nice neutral site in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to play Memphis this coming year. So those are the things that we just have to find, and I think it'll be on ESPN, so it'll be well publicized. But those are the things that we have to do: be creative and try to get other teams that are likewise creative and trying to get the best schedule that they can put together and make it a match.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your next question comes from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pantograph.
A little bit about having to replace Clee Anthony and the challenges of that. Obviously, he has a special skill set, and how difficult that'll be for you guys.
Oh, it'll be tremendously difficult. I mean, those guys. If he goes in the first round, I think he'll be the first player since Xavier McDaniel in the mid '80s. So that would be 30 years, and he's a talent. So you got to replace those guys all the time, and that's why you recruit on a daily basis and get guys that you can hopefully develop. We'll have a handful of guys that will probably see time at that position that he vacates this coming season. Some newcomers, some holdovers, and some transfers. So it's going to be an interesting collection. But just if we can get anywhere near his production, much like last year when we got Kadeem Colby and Shadrach Lufiel and Darius Carter to fill the void left from the previous post players, Carl Hall and Ahime Arupke.
And what are your expectations for Fred this year? Obviously, he kind of burst on the scene a little bit last year. Is he going to maybe have to take a little more of the scoring role this year, especially with Clee gone?
He'd probably score a little more. I don't mind him scoring. Anytime he's open, I want him to shoot it, and he generally has the ball in his hands at the end of the clock, so it wouldn't surprise me if he does score more. But at the same time, he's going to. I expect him to run our team and be a better player than he was last year. Assuming he stays healthy, he probably will make some progress in his defense and understand. I mean, he understands the system as well as I do. So, he's really working hard on his body and getting stronger and quicker and faster and more explosive. This week he's at the Deron Williams top 20 point guard camp in the country. So, I anticipate him just taking another step.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no additional questions in queue at this time.
Great. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
You guys have a good one. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's get next to Coach Marty Simmons of Evansville. Good morning, Marty.
Good morning, Mike.
How are you?
Great. And you?
Good. Let's talk about your returning team. Almost everybody's back for your club, including all 5 starters. Talk about the prognosis for this year and some of the kids you signed, and then we'll open it up for some questions for you.
Yeah, we're certainly excited. Everybody seems to know a little bit better, what's going on, just from expectation standpoint, both offensively and defensively, terminology. But we had a young man sitting out, Mislav Broja, who's actually over in Croatia now, playing with their under-20 team that is a transfer from Villanova. Just really a good all-around player, good versatile player, can play anywhere from 1 to 4, shoots a 3, good passer, strong, athletic kid. He's got some experience. And then Willie Wiley, who's a junior college transfer from Vincennes, comes from a outstanding program, had a lot of success there, played for a very good coach, understands how to play, long, athletic, has the ability to step out, good shot blocking ability. And then Taylor Stafford is another junior college player that I would consider somewhat of a combo. Can shoot the 3, off the catch, off the dribble, really quick, really athletic, someone that certainly has a terrific attitude and wants to be good. I think all 3 of those guys have the ability to challenge and step in and make an impact right from the start.
Thank you, Marty. Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions for you now. Questions from the media for Coach Marty Simmons.
Again, that's star then the number 1 to ask a question. Star then the number 1. Again, if you would like to ask a question, star then the number 1. Your first question comes from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Marty, could you talk about, especially Willie Wiley, getting him? It seemed like maybe you guys needed a kind of a guy to just really step into the 4 and give you a little more size. Is that what you're kind of? What are your expectations for him?
Yeah, he certainly has the ability to do that. I think he can stretch you out and shoot it. He's got a nice touch. His athleticism, his ability to run the floor and finish in transition. I think also, we have not been a very good offensive rebounding team. He adds to that with his length, got good hands. Again, he comes from a program that's had a lot of success. He certainly earned his way there, playing behind such a great player in Darius Carter the year before. Terrific kid, somebody that I think wants to be really good. So I think, all that being said, he certainly is going to bring, like you said, a different dimension to our basketball team.
And DJ obviously came in last year and just seemed to fill Colt's role pretty well. What's the next step for him?
Well, I think just, and he'd be the first to admit it, just try to get better in all areas. He certainly had an outstanding season for us, but I think he's a real driven young man, wants to get better, defensively, rebounding. He did a terrific job of getting to the free throw line. He knocked, and then just the overall leadership, being, he's not on the floor, probably as vocal as he is off the floor, but just taking maybe a little bit more of a role there of the role of a leader.
Thanks.
Your next question comes from Todd Hefferman with the Southern Illinoisans.
Hey, Marty. No seniors last year. How much do you think that hurt you when you look back at it, or do you think the leadership just came out and it wasn't as concerning as you maybe thought it was going to be?
No, we certainly anticipated. I mean, those guys had played for all 4 years and made a big impact on our program. But I certainly was proud of how the young guys and even the younger guys, freshmen to sophomores. So, I mean, I thought they did an outstanding job. Probably a loser's mentality, but I think we were probably a little bit closer than maybe what our record shows. There's areas that we certainly could have done better, that could have changed that very quickly. But I think overall our guys learned a lot, and they're taking that and they're working on those areas of their game here in the off season. I think they'll show some improvements. But when you take guys like Colt, Ned, Troy Taylor, and Lewis, guys that have made the impact they did on our program, I mean, those are pretty tough shoes to fill.
Was there anything you did differently to try to, I don't know, you can't really foster leadership, I don't think, to some degree, but was there anything you did differently knowing you didn't have any seniors and you'd have to have somebody step into some kind of a role like that?
Well, we certainly try to cultivate it. We have a small group of young men that we meet with, weekly, and just talking about it, encouraging it in different ways, but certainly addressing it. It's not an easy thing. I would say, probably don't have any, what I would consider natural, leaders. We got a lot of guys that certainly can lead by example, but, the voiceful, emotional type of leader that I think is important for teams to have. But we'll continue to work on that, and I think somebody will certainly come forward.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Marty, along the same lines, you were so young last year. What are the maybe 2 or 3 main things you're hoping this team that's still going to be pretty young, how do they develop and emerge this year? What are maybe 2 or 3 things that are key for this young group to mature?
Well, I think certainly the defensive end. I mean, we've just got to have a better mentality. We've got to be harder nosed, tougher. Just overall defensively, that includes rebounding. I mean, we've got to make that commitment. It starts with the head coach down through the staff to the players, but got to be harder to score against, that's for sure. I think offensively, just be a more consistent shooting basketball team. I think at times we shot the ball very well. Other times we didn't. And we've worked really hard here in the off season. Guys are getting tons of shots up. Again, I think that's an area that will be better for us than in the past. And then always, from an offensive standpoint is just being stronger with the basketball, making better decisions, not turning it over. And I think we have a very versatile team, one that can put a lot of different lineups out there, and ball security will certainly play a big role.
Thanks a lot, Marty.
Thank you.
There are no additional questions in queue at this time.
Coach, thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, we'll see you later. Let's get to Coach Greg Lansing of Indiana State. Good morning, Greg.
Morning. How you guys?
Good. How are you?
Well, we're trying to survive Aces down in Vegas with our radio guy, Brian Fritz, for his bachelor party, so we're just trying to make it here now.
I'll just say, uh-oh.
Yeah, you may never make it back.
Well, let's talk about your team, who is coming back. We've got a team that's coming off a 23-11 record, an NIT both, and some key parts of the team are not coming back this year, but we do have a lot of guys that are coming back. Talk about your returnees and then some of the signings you had over the summer.
Yeah, this is going to be different for us. We'll find out what life is like without having number 13 with the ball in his hands. We've had the luxury of having a 2-time first-teamer lead us, and also losing Manny and DeJuan and Lucas. Just tremendous accomplishments they had while they were here. But we're going to be different, but I like us. Starting with the guys that are coming back. I got 6th Man of the Year. Christian Smith is going to be an outstanding player for us. Nobody works any harder than him on his game, and just a tremendous teammate. all-conference caliber type guy, and then Justin Gant can be as good as he wants to be. And I really think finishing there with 18 against Wichita in the final game and played well at the tournament. He's had his ups and downs, but when he's been good, he's been really good. And again, he can be as good as he wants to be. And I think the light's gone on for him, and I'm just hoping that continues. Jake Kitchell's coming back at our 5 spot. He had a different year last year. He and his girlfriend had a little one, and that was a lot to deal with in December and January. And he gradually got used to a new change in his lifestyle, and finished strong for us, and is having a great off season. And it's his last year coming up, so he's really looking forward to it and working hard. And Devontae Brown will be our other leader, another guy that's just a really, really tough worker. Works very hard, tough kid, improving his game. He knows his weaknesses, and he's improving on all of those and working on all 4 of these guys are working on their leadership, because that's what we lost a lot of, and they're doing a great job with it. I think I heard Marty talk before there about some more vocal leadership, and we need the same stuff as well. But all those guys we're relying on heavily, and we really like our new guys. We were basically going to have 7 new guys, counting the red shirts of Brenton Scott and Alex Etherington to go along with Trey Bennett, junior college point guard from Lamar State, is from Houston. Needs to step in, and we don't have to expect him to be a Jake Odom. We just got to expect him to be the best Trey Bennett he can be. We have Brandon Murphy, 6'7.5", 290, out of Montgomery, Alabama. Really liking the things he's showing us. L'Aquarius Page from West Orange, Texas, a 6'2", 175-pound freshman, is all fast twitch. He's going to be really good for us in the future. He's kind of a guy that we hope to be able to redshirt. Grant Crusader we got 3 years with him as a shooter out of Rochelle, Illinois, and Highland Community College. And then we took transfer Matt Van Swyk at the end of the year that we think is just a steal. He'll have to sit out this year and be able to step in after we lose Justin next year at that 4 spot. And didn't say anything about Brandon Burnett. Brandon Burnett gave us some valuable minutes last year and learned a lot coming off of pinky surgery. But he's going to have to. It's an important year for him. Important year for him to find his role with the team. Really like the guys. I know I've talked a long time here, but I really like this group of guys. We've had a lot of fun this summer and worked awfully hard.
Greg, thanks so much. Let's get to the questions now for you from the media. Questions from media for Coach Greg Lansing.
Your first question comes from Andrew Lowe with the Des Moines Register.
Hey, Coach. How's it going?
Hey, Andrew. How are you?
All right. Well, one thing we're all been talking about throughout the morning is the perception of the league versus trying to challenge Wichita State, and how important it is maybe to have another team or two come up and kind of challenge them. You were the team last year that came the closest. How important is that for the perception of the league, do you think, to give the Shockers a run or maybe overtake them?
Well, I mean, it's like a high major program over there. You know, they could have literally won the national championship last year, and that hasn't happened since old number 33 played here. So what they're doing is unheard of. It's unbelievable. To give them tons of credit for it. Yeah, the rest of us have to raise our level too. You know, Creighton was a rival of theirs and a competitor of theirs, but we have a lot of talented teams and a lot of great basketball programs in our league, and it's on us to raise to that level. Now that's an elite level, but I know the guys that are behind the programs here, and we're all working towards it. And with the Valley's leadership, we just have to keep doing that. I think, you know, recovering from a loss like Creighton is fine. It was a good year for it, even though the league didn't get the credit it deserves. Everybody was young. Everybody was young except for us in Wichita and maybe some other seniors and valuable seniors that were lost. But this league is really going to be good this year, really going to be good the year after that. So I think it's going to be fine. I think people overreacted a little bit to it. We have to quit worrying about Creighton now because they're not with us, and let's the rest of us up our game.
The other thing everyone's kind of talking about over the summer is all this talk about autonomy and the Power 5 conferences. In your position, is this a reason people at the Missouri Valley should be nervous, or Do you kind of see the big school side of things? What's your stance on that?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things happening that could squash us mid-majors. You know, I mean, it really is, and we have to take the lead of our conference commissioner and staff and a school like Wichita and all up our game. I mean, you know, you look at the A10 and the Mountain West, and they're doing things that we have to be able to do. So we have to rise to that level and not settle where we're at. We have to continue to improve and grow as a league, and we're doing that. We're being innovative. We're collaborating on a lot of those different things. But I look at the teams we're going to have to try and beat this year, and it's awfully good across the board in the league. So I think we'll be just fine.
Cool. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Andrew.
Your next question comes from Paul Solentroff with the Wichita Eagle.
Hey, Greg. So Bennett and Scott, are they kind of the point guard guys? And could you just kind of tell us a little bit about that position going into the season?
Yeah, you know, and that's something everybody's going to talk about all the time because of having the luxury of Odom the last couple of years, and he did so much for us, and being two-time first-teamer. But these guys, we don't want to put any pressure on them. We recruited Trey Bennett to be our starting point guard, and he's an awfully good player, was All-American in junior college, and he's just got to be him. He really does, and he's doing a good job for us so far, and getting to know these other guys and playing with them. He's a different player. He can shoot the ball. He's explosive. Expect him to be really good on the defensive end for us, too, and Brenton Scott, you know, he's not a true point guard, and neither is Devontae Brown. Devontae's proven he can handle the point guard at a high level, and he's going to have to some for us. But he's probably going to be starter off the ball, as DeJuan Cummings was for us last year. And got to keep working with Brenton on it. He's capable of doing that too. Obviously, there's a lot of minutes out there for ball handlers, and the things we like to do on offense will probably be a little different this year, and not rely on the ball screen with those two guards of Odom and Cummings quite as much, and just rely on a little bit more of a team effort and moving the basketball a little more.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Your next question comes from Todd Hefferman with the Southern Illinois.
Hey, Greg, the Valley lost the Mountain West Challenge 2 years ago, and they're currently trying to find another one. Have you ever thought what league you'd like to see them try, or what kind of
Big Ten would be great.
You'd like to see?
Big
Ten would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all talk about it. You know, whether it be an A10 or the Mountain West, and one of those leagues that would really be challenging for us. And it forces you to up your level a little bit, up your game a little bit. I think as good as the league will be in the next few years, that we're very capable of that. I know it helps us a lot in scheduling. You get those automatic games that way, and because scheduling is so difficult at this level. But any of those would be great. Any of those would be great. I think across the board. Again, this starts with the leadership in the conference, that everybody is up in the level of their scheduling, and everybody's doing it. We're all working hard at it. We talk about it at our meetings, and just continuing to find ways to improve our league, and that's certainly one of them. And I know Doug and the guys are working hard at it.
Are you trying to do 2-for-1s in the meantime? Did you do that with Butler?
We will do anything. I mean, we will do anything. You want to get home and homes. So we have a Butler, we have a St. Louis that we're having homes and homes with, and that's great. I mean, that's what we want, and that's what we need. But also, to play the high major levels, they're not that hip to doing 2-for-1s, and even a 3-for-1 here and there. You have to really it makes me nervous, like what Jake does at UNI. He holds a game a lot of times until August, and I just want scheduling over. I just want it done and know who we're going to have to compete against. So I got to get better with it, and maybe listen to some other people some more. But yeah, we'll do 2-for-1s, anything we can to increase our competition outside of our league.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Yeah, Greg, I was going to ask you about scheduling as well, and obviously you guys have a pretty good one. You have so many difficulties in getting good schedules. What's the key to that, or maybe you haven't figured that out yet? I know we've talked about it before.
Yeah, we have, and believe me, I don't have any of the answers. Lou Godino does most of ours here, and we want to schedule difficult. We want to schedule hard. I'm not concerned one iota about my overall career record. If you get your butt beat in the preseason, you get your butt beat, and that just shows that you're probably not going to have a good enough team to compete in our league. We want it difficult. We want to play in great MTEs. We want to play in terrific venues like we do in our league most of the time. And I was in the Big Ten for 7 years, and we'd love to play any of those teams just to be in those atmospheres. And we try to again get home and homes with we had Belmont. That was great for us, and then again with St. Louis and Butler. We're doing as much as we can on all that. Having to be in an MTE is always good, and I think you have to schedule a little more like football scheduling there and doing it several years in advance, and we've already done that through 2016. But I wish there was a magic formula. I wish there was a way that people took care of that for you and you automatically had a good schedule, a difficult and challenging schedule, but it's just tough at our level and in our league.
I just want to follow up too. You got recruits coming in, but I want you to talk a little bit about those guys that were already there that you are going to be unredshirting and getting back on the team this year.
Just my 2 red shirts?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brenton stubbed his toe a little bit during the year, and he's getting a second chance, and he knows he's got to come a long ways on the court as well as off the court, and that's our bigger job as coaches. But he is talented, tough, works awfully hard. We just got to rein him in a little bit. We're probably going to butt heads. We did a little bit this morning, but I like him because he's so competitive and tough, and he can really play. And Alex Etherington's had some health issues. Working through those now, but he is a good basketball player, talented, explosive athlete. And these guys are just going to be freshmen, so it's not going to we're going to throw them to the wolves, and we have to completely rely and count on them. But we are expecting them, both of them, to be contributors.
Yeah, but when people look at your recruiting, they kind of forget those 2 guys, don't they?
They sure do. They sure do. And these guys stuck their nose in there all year last year. They handled their a difficult redshirt year as well as you can handle it, but they competed every day. Sometimes it's fun in those days in practice when you get to be on the practice squad, basically being the other team's best players and take all the shots. So they were good in that role. They're awfully talented, and there's no question. These 2 are expecting to play, and they're going to play.
Appreciate your time, Greg. Thanks.
Thank you.
There are no additional questions in queue at this time.
Coach, that was it for you. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks. Take it easy.
Okay, we'll see you. We do have Coach Ray Giacoletti of Drake on the line with us. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Well, just like Greg's team, you have a team that has 3 starters shy of last year. You do get Gary Ricks back, who started the first 8 games before getting hurt, but you do have 6 other guys who average about 15 minutes or more per game, so you have a nice nucleus returning. Talk a little bit about your team, and then we'll open it up for some questions for you.
Yeah, well, the first and foremost is Gary Ricks. I mean, he is back, been released in full to practice, which is great news. Our training staff did an unbelievable job because it was a little bit trickier situation than just your normal broken foot. But he's back for about 2 full weeks now. He's been released and just trying to work his way back in shape. We do have a good mix. The 5 seniors, I think, have really given good direction to. We have 5 freshmen then, and then 2 transfers, and so we have 7 new guys. But that core of the 5 seniors has really helped acclimate the 7 new guys. Jordan Daniels, continues to work hard in the weight room and with skill development. Carl Madison, I think, continues to get healthier and healthier. And he was a guy that they thought maybe a year and a half ago that wouldn't play again. So I'm really pleased with that core group of the 5 seniors. Jacob Jensen was on the U20 Danish national team and just won the Nordic Championships. He averaged 11 and 10 in that tournament. We should get him back here, I think, the 5th of July. And then we're breaking in 5 freshmen, and we have 2 Big Ten transfers that will sit this year, but they'll help us get better with practices, and obviously looking forward to their opportunity to be eligible.
Coach, thank you very much. Let's get to the questions now for you from the media. Questions for Coach Ray Giacoletti.
Again, star 1 on your telephone keypad to ask a question. The first question comes from Andrew Lowe for the Des Moines Register.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right. I'm kind of catching up things on the summer, and as you know, Drake has had obviously they take a lot of pride in the academic standards and the way they do things, and all you're hearing about all summer is player stipends and the power conferences and how they may do things. As a coach at Drake, does that do you cringe a little, or is it just the inevitable, or how do you see all the talk about autonomy and changes maybe in the economic structure and how that could impact Drake?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's going to impact all of us in the Valley one way or the other. I know our athletic administration is all set to, with men's and women's basketball, that if there's a stipend that's involved, that we will be able to do what everybody else does. But who knows what's going to happen with the 5 power conferences? I mean, you hear so many different things each day. One day it's something different than the next. To be honest with you, the only thing we can focus on now is I'm hoping that basketball will never change. The NCAA tournament is too special of an event each March that what ends up happening because of football with other conferences, that the one thing hopefully that will remain the same is basketball. But we're just going to have to kind of wait and see where this all plays out. We can just do the best we can do. No different when we tell our guys, find a way to win the day, the task at hand, or worry about tomorrow when it gets here. So I don't know. We're in a real, I think, interesting time for college athletics, and so many different things going on with the 5 power conferences, the O'Bannon lawsuit, a lot of things going on right now with NCAA athletics.
On a different note, you've got some kids at the Cap City League, such as Abrahamson. What are you kind of hoping those guys get out of that, and what are you seeing kind of from them so far?
The Cap City League, to be quite honest, is just something good that they can run up and down. They keep score. When a guy gets 50 in a league, it must not be any defense being played. So I don't. We've talked to our guys about, text one of the coaches when you go get 10 rebounds or 10 assists. Other than that, I don't really care about it. Try to go guard one of the best offensive players, one of the Iowa State guys, defensively. More worried about our practices. We get 2 1-hour practices a week, and so we're kind of focused on the fundamentals and building our team with those practices right now. But the Cap City League is just too many crazy guys, putting up ridiculous numbers that aren't going to equate to, realistic things once official practice gets here.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Coach.
All righty.
Your next question comes from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pantheon.
Hey, could you talk about the 5 newcomers coming in and who might have the potential biggest impact for you?
Yeah, of the 5 freshmen, I think 2 of them have a chance to make a really big impact immediately. That's Reed Timmer, the point guard from Milwaukee, and then Ori Organde, the wing from Chicago, St. Viator. I think those kids just are maybe a little bit ahead. For whatever reason of maybe the opportunity being there in those positions more than in some other places. But those 2 have been very impressive and done a great job, early workouts. The 2 big kids from Iowa, Kinsling and Schlatter, both are going to be very good players. Casey probably needs a year just to fill out physically. Led the state in scoring last year at 6'9". He's just a little skinny. Corey, big 6'11". He's going to probably, I don't know what he weighs, 225. He's got broad shoulders. Another guy that we're probably not going to be able to redshirt Corey this year, but at some point in his career would be very beneficial to redshirt, because with big guys it just takes time. But works hard, runs, got great hands. And then CJ C.J. Rivers is from Cahokia, Illinois, and an athletic guard, and the one thing we need to improve upon is our athleticism, especially on the perimeter. And he's a guy that can really pass it, can really defend. So when you can do those two things, you're going to have an opportunity to get in the mix a little bit quicker. But that's the 5 freshmen, and they've all done a very good job to this point.
When you were at Gonzaga, you guys had a lot of staying power up at the top of the league. As it equates kind of, a lot of people are saying Wichita is kind of like the Gonzaga type right now, obviously. How hard is it when you guys are at Gonzaga to stay on top? Because obviously everybody's, throwing everything at you guys in recruiting and in games to kind of have that staying power.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that Mark's been able to do it for, it's, I don't know, what was it, 15 straight years now to the NCAA tournament this past year. And he's kind of done it a number of different ways over that 15 years. I was just with him for 6. But, it started off with guys that just that overachieved, then got lucky with a foreign guy here or there. Then Morrison was from Spokane and had his 3-year run there. And then it kind of came back again with the foreign guys, with even though Olenek is just from British Columbia, which is closer. It's closer than most places in the state of Washington for him to get to Spokane. But Elias Harris. So it's kind of been done a number of different ways to sustain it. I think, but that's college basketball today, and I don't think he just consistently be able to do it with all high school guys. And we were fortunate enough here this spring to be able to get 2 Big Ten transfers that, since them getting here, I'm even more excited that, these are guys that played at a high level and had success, and they're another example to these 5 freshmen, of a culture of how to get better. So, I think each probably 3 or 4 years, you probably have to tweak something here or there to try to sustain, at least Gonzaga's run, and now Wichita has had a number of years to sustain it. That backcourt's going to be together for 2 more years, so they just have to tweak it, I think, in some other spots, but after that, it'll be interesting to see what they need to be able to do to sustain it.
Thanks.
Yep.
Your next question comes from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, good morning, Ray. When you guys are recruiting and, 3 of your 5 guys have stars after their names, by some of the recruiting services, do you guys pay attention to that kind of stuff, or do you look more at how they might fit with your team, your program, your style?
Yeah, we very rarely ever look at, stars or who's, pubbing them up. With us, it's really trying to find what you're looking for with the need for that scholarship, and then the very next question you need to ask is, what kind of student is he, and then what type of character he is. And 2 of the 5 freshmen are presidential scholarship winners here at Drake, and that's something we had nothing to do with, just based on sheer test scores and transcripts. And so, if we could continue just I call them singles, just hit singles, like with those 5 freshmen, if you can get 2 or 3 of those recruiting classes in here, now you got a foundation from which to build upon. But it's more so with our staff's eyes and what we're looking for than, sure, you're going to have maybe somebody tell you about this kid or that kid, but, I don't go look and see who's ranked here or there. If you did that, I don't think you're doing your job very well. And if you look around the NBA today, there's so many guys that came from obscure places that people didn't follow the normal route to recruit them, and they were just happened to be the right fit, and they, could look ahead on how they were going to progress over a 4 or 5 year stint in college. So I think we have a very experienced staff here, and we try to trust our eyes, trust our instincts.
And I know you want to win a lot of games this year, but you really are taking a long view with a 5 freshman class, the transfers, the long view is really important at Drake, isn't it?
It is, and to be honest with you, I don't know how else to do it at a place that's that academics are as important as they are here. And where I'm at in my career, it's exactly what I wanted. Didn't want to try to do the quick fix. Wanted to be a part of something that you built, and the people had patience and were able to watch that take place and happen. We have so many positives going on right now. I mean, the new practice facility will be open in September, and you go by it every day, and it gets you so excited, and to bring recruits in, and for them to take a trip through it and a tour through it, it just it almost brings a tear to your eye of the commitment that the university and the athletic department's made to men's and women's basketball here.
Thanks a lot, Ray.
Yep, thank you.
There are no additional questions in queue at this time.
Coach, that wraps it up. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. We do have Coach Ben Jacobson of Northern Iowa on the line waiting with us. And good morning, Ben.
Hi, Mike.
How are you doing?
Yeah, we're good. How are you?
Good, good. Well, let's get right to the questions for you. We're a little behind schedule. We'll get back on track here without you having to do an opening statement. So questions for Coach Ben Jacobson.
Please press star and the number 1. The first question comes from Andrew Lowe with the Des Moines Register.
Coach, how's it going?
Good, Andrew.
Well, I've been asking several coaches a little bit of all the talk this summer going on about autonomy and the Power 5 conferences and such. Is that something you think about or have taken time to break down yet, or are you waiting to see how things shake out?
Well, yeah, that's something that we've certainly had discussions about. Troy and I have our athletic director, and obviously at the league level with our league staff and the league meetings, that topic has certainly been discussed, and it is something that it's one of those things, Andrew, that we don't have a lot of control over it or how that part of it is going to play out. I think the important thing for us, and it's being done right now, is that we do everything we can to stay in lockstep with the areas that we do have control over. So some of the things that may happen, that may be coming down the pike, we have to be able to be prepared, whether it's the stipend or whichever of the number of things that they're talking about right now with the Power 5 leagues. Just being prepared for what may come our way and being in a position to do everything we can to move forward, as some of the other leagues are, like the Atlantic 10 and like the Mountain West, and some of the other leagues that have tremendous basketball. Because last year was a little bit of the perfect storm in terms of Creighton leaving and us having a really young league, but that's very atypical of the Missouri Valley. We've got a very strong league coming forward and the right guys in place from an administration standpoint, from a league standpoint. So I think it more than anything, Andrew, it's not something I think about every day because we don't have control over that part of it. More than anything, we have to be ready to be able to move forward with some of the things that do come out of this.
The other thing is everyone's talking about the perception of the league, and can anyone make a run at Wichita State to kind of bring a little bit more parity to the league? A lot of people are talking about your team as one that can kind of make a run. Thoughts on that is just making a run at Wichita State and what it would mean for the league to strike a little bit more balance.
Well, I think part of the answer, Andrew, is what I just touched on. Last year we happened to hit a year where a very, very good Creighton team left our league, and Creighton and Wichita State would have had 2 great games with each other, and both teams were going to go to the NCAA tournament, and Indiana State was very, very good, not quite good enough to stay step for step with Wichita, but I think it's probably been talked about this morning. There weren't very many teams last year in the entire country that were going to go step for step with Wichita, and now we've got a bunch of teams. I know, Lance is certainly reloading there at Indiana State. I don't know if they're going to take much of a step back, even though they graduate 3 really good players. And then you've got a bunch of us that are going to be a year older. The majority of our teams return, and there's some new guys added to the different teams. And so I think from a league standpoint, we're going to be much stronger across the board, and that needs to show up in our non-conference play, but also in conference play. In order to make a run at one team or two teams, having strength through all 10 teams certainly helps. So that team doesn't have a night off on a Wednesday and wins by 35, and then they get somebody good on a Saturday. And I think everybody is going to be better, and I think that's going to make it harder for the team that wins our league. And specific to our team, I like our group. We got a good group back. We got guys that are really working. There's areas that we have to get much better at, specifically defensively and rebounding. But we're working to address those two things. And we'll have 5 seniors and 3 juniors, and so we got a chance to have a good year.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Your next question comes from Carson Teague with the Waterloo Courier.
Hey, Jake, what's your impression of Wyatt Lohaus at this point?
He's off to a great start. He, in a lot of ways, everything that we felt like we were getting with Wyatt, we're seeing it already in his individual workouts, in our team workouts, in the weight room. I tell you, he's got a tremendous work ethic. He's got a great feel and a great sense for the game of basketball. Puts in a ton of time. He wants to be a tremendous player, and he's willing to put in the time it takes to do that. So we've been extremely pleased and extremely happy with where he was at coming in and what he's done in the 2 weeks he's been here. Carson, he's there's no question he's going to be not just a really good player for us and have a great playing career, but he is a guy that works at a level that impacts his teammates, and he's off to a great start.
Yeah, what would you like to see, between now and November from him?
I think the one area he's getting it in the workouts right now, more in our team workouts. Going head to head with Wes and going head to head with Dion, 2 guys that have the athletic ability to put pressure on him defensively and to blow by him offensively. Those situations are ones that he needs to be in, and he's getting that right now. And I think that's going to speed up his development, if you will. That's going to happen even quicker going head to head with those 2 guys. And outside of that, like I said, he puts in the right amount of time, and he's committed in all areas to make sure he gives himself a chance to get better, and he's going to prepare himself the right way. So any chance he gets to be in a workout with Wes and Dion and play against that type of quickness and that kind of experience, right now I think is most beneficial for him.
How is scheduling going?
We've got 2 to get still. I really like what we've got right now. I think a very good schedule for us. 2 to get, and one of them, I'd like them both to be home games, Carson. I think we've talked about it plenty. The opportunity to get high quality home games is hard for everybody in our league. So we're working hard to see if we can't get 1 or 2 more here at home to finish out the schedule.
Any progress on? I know non-con series with Creighton was talked about before. Any progress with that at all?
We do not have anything at this time with them. No.
All right. Thanks, Jake.
Yep.
Your next question comes from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pathograph.
Ben, can you talk a little bit about you referred to you guys have to improve your defense and rebounding. Did you guys lose a little bit of that mindset in trying to maybe play a little more up tempo that you guys had when you guys won a couple Valley titles?
Yeah, it was a combination of a couple things. I think first and foremost, Jim, I felt like because with the team that we had to start this year, that we had an opportunity to really expand our offense and be a better offensive team, and that maybe would give us an advantage in some of our games and over the course of the season. And in some ways that played out to be true. But my focus needs to remain where I've always been as a head coach, and that's in terms of defense and rebounding. If my focus strays just a little bit from that, then the players are certainly going to take their cue from me and from my staff. So I need to do a better job of making sure that we understand who we are and what we're about. I do feel like we were better the last month of the season. Some of our defensive numbers in the last month were better, and we're closer to what they need to be. There's still a lot of room for improvement even from that last month. So we'll work hard at that this summer. And I think the other thing, beyond me being completely focused on that area of the game, is we got pretty good offensively, and at times we scored the ball at a high level. And so from a player's standpoint, you let a little bit of that slide into your mentality of we'll work hard at the defensive end, but if they do score, we got a pretty good offensive team, and we'll go down there and we'll get those points back. And that's the wrong way to win a championship. That's the wrong way to get to the NCAA tournament. So we're working on that right now. I think having a more experienced team, having the experiences of last year where we had some good offensive performances and we still didn't win games, I think that's going to help us and pay off for us as we look ahead to next year. But if we can improve our defense, our commitment to individual battles defensively, our commitment to team defense, our commitment to rebounding, our commitment to the toughness it takes to be a defensive team that can win a championship, if we can improve those things and make that our calling card, Jim, I think we've got a great chance next year.
And Paul Jesperson sat out a year, and now he's able to play. What are the expectations for him?
Yeah, we like what Paul did last year in his redshirt year. He brings a level of experience and maturity to our team that even helped us last year as he redshirted. His situation, for us, a little different than when Wes got here. Wes didn't play a lot at Tennessee as a freshman, and then sat for us. So when we started last year, he didn't have a lot of playing experience, and I felt like his last month and a half was significantly better than his first month and a half, where Paul was a starter for Virginia 2 years ago now as a sophomore. He started 32 of the 35 games. So playing against the teams that they played against in those road games and everything he saw in that league and at that level, having that experience, I think, is going to help Paul jump off to even a better start than what Wes was able to do for us, simply because of having played so much at Virginia. And he's a big guard. He's a legit 6'6". He can really shoot it. He puts it on the floor just enough where you have to respect that part of his game. He's a good passer, and he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. So we expect that he's going to be a big part of what we're doing.
Thanks.
Yep, thanks.
Your next question comes from Todd Hesselman with the Southern Illinois.
Hey, Ben, scheduling-wise, do you ever use neutral sites to try to get some of the BCS schools to play you in like a 2-for-1 setting or a 3-for-1, or is it exclusively home and homes you're trying to get?
Yeah, Todd, we would look at all options. We've offered some different things, and boy, we'll try anything to get those kind of games, and they're just they're hard to get, and I understand some of the reasons why those ones are hard to get set up, why those teams don't want to play those games, but we'll take about any scenario, just about any scenario when it comes to getting high quality games, especially if we can get one back here in Cedar Falls. Getting the high level home games is really, really difficult right now. So I think we've got a good schedule this year. Generally speaking, I'd like to be able to get our guys some higher quality home games and not always have those games on the road or at a neutral site. So yeah, we look at all scenarios, and we're willing to do just about anything to get a high quality game.
And how badly do you think the league has to find another conference series like they had with the Mountain West, or can they can survive in the internet? How high is that on the list, do you think?
Yeah, I know Doug and his staff are working hard at that. They know that it would benefit our league, benefit each of the teams individually to have part of the scheduling taken care of, and with a good team. So I know they're working hard at it, Todd. again, one of those things, and I think with all of the things that have happened over the course of the past 2 years, in particular with the realignment and where everybody's at right now, and the changing landscape of college athletics and specific college basketball, it's becoming more and more difficult to get those games or to get a challenge series. Doesn't mean we aren't putting in an effort from a league standpoint, but it's a difficult thing.
Thanks.
Yep, thanks, Tom.
Your next question comes from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Ben, I was going to ask you about Jesperson as well, but with Will House coming in as well, you get back to that place where you're going to have 8 or 9 or 10 guys playing in a real regular rotation. I mean, you've got so many coming back. Does that get you back to what Panther basketball we've kind of been used to seeing, kind of 2 platoons?
Yeah. The two things I've thought about with our team, and we've seen it some already. Our experience will be very different next year, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Having 5 seniors and 3 juniors, and then having, with the addition of Paul Jesperson, the addition of Wyatt Lowehouse, Clint Carlson is an athletic 6'7" power forward that redshirted last year. Bennett Cook is the youngest of the 3 Cook brothers now that have played for us. Bennett is the third, but redshirted as well, and Ben is almost 6'11" and long and athletic, and so he gives us a little bit more up front. So we do. We've got more guys. We've got more experience. And as I've talked about, and I think those things can help us at the defensive end in terms of rebounding. Jesperson is a big guard. Carlson is an athletic power forward. Bennett Cook has got legit size, legit length, and athleticism. And Wyatt Lowehouse is really, really tough. So those 4 guys are going to help us in terms of at the defensive end and in terms of rebounding. They're also going to help our depth. And each year, I think it is so important that you've got the right leadership. And with 5 seniors, guys that have been with us, and we have not gotten to some places that we would like to get in terms of where we finish in the league and in terms of playing in the NCAA tournament. And so we've got a group of 5 guys that are highly motivated right now. It's showing up in their workouts, and so I think we're on the right track with some of those things. Still a lot of things that need to get better for us, but I think we're on the right track.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep, thanks.
Your next question comes from Paul Silvertraub with the Wichita Eagle.
Ben, you've covered it all. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
There are no additional questions in queue.
Coach, that's it. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Okay, see you, Mike.
All right, bye-bye. Let's get next to Coach Dan Muller of Illinois State. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Good. Let's get right to the questions for you. We're behind schedule. I know Barry's got a conflict, and he follows you, so we're going to try to get some questions for you and then get to Coach Hinson as soon as we can. But questions for Coach Dan Muller.
And star then the number 1 to ask a question. Again, if you would like to ask a question, star then the number 1. Your first question comes from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Dan, I know you've got young guys coming in that you're very high about, but are you just been chomping at the bit for Hawkins and McIntosh to get in there?
Yes. It's nice to have them in workouts right now. It's nice to have our other incoming guys in. We've added, those 2 are actually our only freshmen on our team. We brought in some more junior college kids with some experience, but also a very high character. So we got a great mix right now. I like my team a lot. We've got some bigs, we got some guards. That Kyle and Chetty with that year off. Had a good year. They were pretty self-motivated. We could not do anything with them, but I think they got a little better, and now it's time to help them get even better.
Your next question comes from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pantograph.
With a lot of coaches here in this teleconference already about the importance of a couple teams maybe really challenging Wichita State this year, and a lot of coaches said when you guys are recruiting, they can see the talent level being recruited to the Valley this year is greatly improved. Could you just talk a little bit about how much you think you see another team or teams challenging Wichita State this year and the talent really coming into this league?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt there will be better teams in the league this year. You know, bottom line is last year was a young year for the league and a down year. And we obviously lost Creighton, which affected things, but it wouldn't matter if they're in the league. We saw some teams that were young and down. And Northern Iowa, I think, is going to be unbelievably good. We plan on being very, very good. I don't want to leave other teams out, but I think the mix at junior college, we had some guys sitting out with transfers. And I think our league, I almost guarantee you we'll have multiple bids this year. We've got some teams with very good schedules that will give us opportunities for good wins. But I think the team that wins the league this year will have a significant number of losses. Now, that could be 4, but I don't think you're going to win the league with 2 wins this year. 2 losses. Sorry.
Thanks.
Yep.
There are no additional questions at this time.
Over.
Coach, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. And let's get to Coach Hinson. Barry Hinson of Southern Illinois joins us. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Great. Let's get right to the questions for you. I know you got an appointment right after this, so we'll get to the questions. And questions for Coach Hinson.
Again, that stars in the number 1, and your first question comes from Todd Hefferman with the Southern Illinois.
Hey Barry, can you just talk about Ibby's development and what you liked about him this year?
Well, I think I heard Ben talk about a couple of his transfers, and the one thing that Ibby didn't play a whole lot at Illinois. There's a reason he transferred. He was recruited by one head coach, played for another head coach. Now this is his 3rd head coach in 3 years, so it's been a transition for him. He's starting to compete. Obviously, he's going to be really rusty when we first start off, but I think he's gotten a lot better as far as his body goes, his explosiveness. He came in here, he wasn't able to really dunk for the most part. He really struggled with it. He's got some skills facing the basket. His back to the basket moves have to obviously improve. But the thing that I like about him is he wants to get better, and he desires to get better, and he asks every day what he can do to get better. So as long as you have that type of attitude, I think he'll show progress.
And Jordan and Austin Wire, how have they played, and where are you playing them right now?
Well, we really don't. In the summer we don't really do anything by position. We just try to get better with individual skill development. So we're not worried about where we're placing our guys right now. But I would say that Bola and Ibby's game has had to improve a tremendous amount, because if it doesn't, those 2 freshmen are going to take playing time away from them. And I think that's been a big deal. Our workouts and our practices have improved tremendously because our younger guys are able to push them, because our younger guys are better than what we've had in here in the past.
Thanks.
Your next question comes from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pantograph.
Obviously, Anthony Bean came on very strong in the second half of the season. He'll have a little bit more of, of an X on his target on him this year, especially without Jackson there. How much have you talked to him already about that, and where does he kind of need to raise his level of play?
Well, Jim, we've talked about that. As soon as the Missouri Valley tournament was over, we came back the next week and met with all our players, because we weren't going to be in postseason. So we had our individual conferences at that time, and that's specifically what we told Anthony. Anthony's got to learn how to play with his left hand. He's got to learn how to back cut. He's got to learn how to play without the ball in his hands, and we've done that all summer. He's done a great job of it. He's trying to play knowing that he's going to be a highlight. But the great thing that's going to help Anthony more than anything is that he's surrounded by better players. So Anthony may be a target, but if somebody doesn't worry about some of these other guys that we've recruited, we finally have guys that we feel like that can shoot and from the perimeter and score from the perimeter. We feel like we have size that can score around the basket, and I think that'll help Anthony more so than anything, along with his improvement. I mean, the kid stays in the gym every single day. That's why he's gotten so much better. There's no secret to this success. It's all about his hard work and his attitude.
I don't know if you just heard Dan. He just says there are a couple teams. No team will go undefeated this year in the league. He sees 2 to 4 losses, the league champion. When you're out recruiting and all, and you see what's being brought into the league and with all the returners, do you kind of agree with that assessment?
I don't think there's any question. I think Dan's head on. I think when you've got over 70% of your scoring back, when you've got, if I'm not mistaken, 36 out of your 50 starters back in the league, you've got Wichita State that has raised the standard. I know Missouri State's going to be really good. They've had a really good recruiting class. They've got their best player coming back off an injury. You got Northern Iowa that's got basically everybody back with the transfer coming in. I think those three right there. I think Dan at Illinois State's going to be good. Indiana State already with their veteran. I know they lost some veterans, but they've got a good foundation. You got virtually everybody back at Loyola, everybody back at Evansville. Ray's got virtually everybody back at Drake, and I think we'll be better now. I don't think we'll be in the point where we can challenge for a league championship, but hopefully we'll get better as yet. We're going to be the youngest team. It'll be interesting to see, but I think we'll be the youngest team in NCAA. We're going to have 6 freshmen and 3 sophomores out of our 13 scholarships. So we may be the youngest team in all the country.
Thanks, Barry.
Your next question comes from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Barry, I'm from St. Louis, and you've gone hard St. Louis this time. Can you just talk about Glada and Fletcher and Lavender, their development so far?
Well, Harry, let's get one thing. We've always gone hard St. Louis. So that's been our place that we like to recruit. I like St. Louis. I like the coaches. I like the schools in the St. Louis Metroplex area. I feel very comfortable when we get kids out of those areas because I know they're very well coached, and I know they've come from competitive leagues. I like Chaz just because he played for a coach, which happens to be his father, and he's the type of kid that wants to get better in every aspect, whether it be on or off the floor. I think Armand Fletcher's the sleeper of the group. I really do. I think he's a sleeper. He's got a lot of maturation to go through, whether it be physically or basketball-wise, but had a great year. You're talking about a kid that made All-State in the state of Illinois, which is hard to do. And Dion Lavender, I think Dion's a hidden treasure in the sense this is a kid that can really score, played at the small school level, scored a lot of points, but I think you'll find out that he's going to get better the more he's around competition. So, those are our 3 St. Louis guys, but I tell you, our other 3 freshmen, Harry, I'm really excited because the secret to this league has and always will be 4th and 5th year seniors, and we've got 6 freshmen starting off next year, and we think that'll really help us.
Thanks for your time, Barry.
There are no additional questions at this time.
All right, thank you so much. Everybody have a great summer.
You too. We'll see you.
Bye.
Let's get next to Coach Paul Lusk of Missouri State. Paul's on the line with us. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, Mike.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Barry gave you some props for your team and your returnees coming back. Talk a little bit about the team from the Springfield, Missouri perspective. We'll talk about Marcus coming back from injury and the rest of your ball club.
Well, getting Marcus back is important for us. It's important for him. He had an outstanding freshman year. We didn't win a whole lot, but he was kind of thrown into the fire and had a great freshman year, and then really didn't get to have much of a sophomore year. Was hurt in our 4th game, missed extended time, then got back, and then got hurt again early in the Valley season against Wichita. So he's doing great. He's been really good this summer. He loves getting in the gym. So we feel good about getting him back, and then I think all of the other returners will improve and get better, and then we're excited about the new guys.
Paul, thank you. Let's go ahead and get to the questions now from the media. Questions for Coach Paul Lusk.
Please press star then the number 1. Again, that's star then the number 1 to ask a question. Your first question comes from Harry Schroeder with Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Paul, I was just talking to Barry about the St. Louis guys. Can you talk about the St. Louis area guys on your team, Thompson and Roundtree? And just so I don't have to bottle up the conversation, what do you expect out of McCullough this year? He's obviously going to be a key part to what goes on.
Yeah, well, first, Harry, about McCullough, we think he's got a very bright future. My opinion has never wavered on him. I knew he would not be a scorer his first year. That's not how he's wired. But yet he had some good moments, but he also had some tough moments, but that's typical with freshmen. That's typical with young big guys. He's a worker. He's a young man that tries to please, and he likes to get in the gym. His body will be very important for him, his development of becoming stronger, and he's working very hard on that. We think he can take another step and be a very, very good post player in this league. And there are a lot of good posts in the league now. The St. Louis area will always be important for us. We're excited about Robin Thompson and Sean Roundtree. They're both very good players. We needed some length and athleticism in this class, and we felt we were able to get that with Robin Thompson, Chris Kendricks, and then Loomis Gehring, a junior college kid. And then Sean Roundtree is just a young man that wins. I heard Coach Hinson talk about the Fletcher kid from Edwardsville. They come from a storied program. They've played for a very good high school coach, and Sean Roundtree was kind of the leader of that group. He directs a lot of traffic out there, but yet I think what kind of separates him is from that point guard spot is his ability to make a three, make his free throws, make a jumper. So we feel good about both of those guys. And then I'll just add about Robin Thompson. We think he's a guy that, he's only about 6'5", but he's got the size 17 or 18 shoes, and he's got the 7-foot wingspan. He plays really hard. He goes and rebounds, and we think they'll both be good additions to the program.
From playing at MICDS, what do you expect from him growth-wise? Because obviously it was a little bit of a smaller class, but he stood out. What do you expect in terms of his long-term development?
Well, I mean, obviously it's all different levels, but these young players are exposed not only to so much during their actual high school seasons, but yet outside of their high school seasons. And he played in the EYBL. He played for a very good AAU program in the Eagles, and he's been exposed to high level competition. I think there's an adjustment no matter what level you're coming from, whether that's junior college, whether that's small school versus big school. When you step onto a 4-year campus for the first time, there's an adjustment. But that's probably the thing that I've been impressed with the most about Robin, as well as the other freshmen. The pace as to which we're moving this summer, whether it be academically, whether it be with their tutors, whether it be with the individual workouts or the strength training, the pace hasn't affected them. And I think sometimes for freshmen that's important. But I think he'll just continue to grow and develop. He's a very good listener. Robin listens, and he wants to get better, and we think he's got a bright future.
Thanks, Paul.
You bet, Harry.
Your next question comes from Todd Hefferman with the Southern Illinoisans.
Hey, Paul. Scheduling-wise, do you ever, try to get involved neutral sites in some of the series you're trying to get with some of the BCS schools, or are you strictly trying to go home and home with them in Springfield?
Well, I mean, we're open to all options, but it really doesn't matter what we think. It matters what those BCS schools think, and most of them are probably not going to be willing to do the true home and homes, although it does happen occasionally. Scheduling is very, very difficult. We're still looking for games, but we're really open to all options. We'll be in the Great Alaska Shootout this year, where we'll get the 3 games on a neutral floor. We're going to Texas Tech. That's a guaranteed game, and then we still have some other games that we have to get. But we would be open to the neutral deal with BCS schools. Obviously, we're even open to the 2-for-1s, but it's just tough to put all the pieces of the puzzle together when you're dealing with dates, facilities, and all of those different issues when you're dealing with scheduling.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pentagram.
the 2 junior college kids you added in the spring, and where do you see them fitting into the mix for you?
Yep, Jim, we like those guys. Loomis Gehring is a Kansas City kid, Grandview, and he comes from an excellent junior college program at Vincennes. Played for Todd Franklin, who does a tremendous job of getting his guys ready for that next step. And Loomis was a part of 2 teams that went to Hutch, went to the national tournament. They've had outstanding success. The thing that impresses me about Loomis is he's that 6'5" athlete that we need, that we think's pretty versatile, but I think his team won 34 or 35 games this year, and he led that team in scoring and rebounding, basically at about 13 points and 9 rebounds a game, and that team had 2 JUCO All-Americans on it. And now Loomis didn't get any of those accolades, but he produced, and we like that. We think he'll be a very good player. Cam Boone is a young man from out west, Mesa Junior College. He has not arrived to campus yet. He will actually get here this weekend. We're excited about him. He's a 6'6", 230-pound power forward. He rebounds in traffic. I think both of those guys will help us. We feel like they're low maintenance guys. They'll do what they're supposed to do, and we think that they're going to be good fits. As I said, Cam will get here this weekend, so we haven't had a chance to work with him. But Loomis has been very, very good so far in the summer workouts.
Obviously, Wichita ran roughshod over the league last year. How important is it for the league's image on a national basis for a couple of teams to really challenge Wichita this year?
Well, I mean, it's great publicity for the league with what Wichita has accomplished, and then going one step further, the more successful that the rest of the league is, the better it's going to be for all of us. So it's important that we have a good league. We do. We have a very good league, but I do think with all of the starters coming back, with all of the scoring and the rebounding, I think it's going to be an excellent year in the Missouri Valley.
Thanks, Paul.
You bet.
There are no additional questions at this time.
Paul, that does wrap it up. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
All right, Mike. Take care.
Thank you. And this does conclude our call for today. Appreciate everybody's participation. You can feel free to disconnect at this time.
Thank you. This concludes today's conference. You may now disconnect.